break, and I'm looking forward to it. We're with Jimmy over in Arizona, Jed over in the suburb of Illinois. We were back for an NFL fantasy matchup for another season. So welcome, everyone.
Jed, it's been like a year, seems like, since we've been together on this thing.
Yeah, good morning, everyone, and I certainly missed you too, and missed the chance to talk football. It's great.
I know the three of us still are on text chain. We were doing NBA fantasy NBA fantasy. We don't record a podcast on it, but it's been really like right before the draft where we really talked.
Yeah, NBA fantasy, basketball fantasy was good for me this year. I did well with Jaylen Brown and Tatum, but yeah, it's now back to football. Excited.
Yeah. Hey, look, for this particular first episode, next week I'm actually gone, so we won't be recording. So for this particular episode, I want to go through some of the news and notes that are coming out of training camp. Here's some of your thoughts in terms of what that means for the team for the seat potentially as we start the season. Then I want to talk a little bit about draft strategy, what your draft strategy is going in, and even some of the players that is on your radar for you to either avoid or even pick up for later on this year. So want to start there?
Sure. Sounds good.
Yep, sounds good.
All right, Jed, I'm going to start with you as well, too. The person that is hot in the news is Deshaun Watson. I totally understand what your thoughts are and how you feel about him. But the Browns are planning to have Watson start Friday's preseason game. Now, news report comes with the six-week suspension. Roger Goodell is not happy and has brought in his own person. He's looking at least at a 1-year ban, according to Adam Schefter.
Yes, 1 year.
People are willing to say that he's open to 8-month ban. Let me ask you a quick question. At the end of the day, are you even picking up if you were on, probably not this year, but are you even picking up on this year or even if you have a keeper league?
So personally, I would not touch the guy. I cannot. As much as he is an incredible talent, top 5 talent. Let's be really clear, top 5 quarterback talent. I just cannot get over the accusations. As much as I love fantasy football and want to win, I wouldn't want to win with that guy. Also, personally, as you said, remember Goodell. Basically, the way this is set up, and the NFLPA agreed to this. He basically can appeal to his own guy. So essentially he gets to do whatever he wants. You saw that Watson's camp came out and said, we would accept an 8-game suspension. That's all smoke. Goodell's going to push for a year. And to me, what he's going to push for is indefinite suspension, which is really crazy. But I think what he'll end up getting is a full year. So for me personally, obviously, you got to wait to hear this information before you even consider drafting him. The only way I would consider that was if he was in a keeper league. I really wouldn't consider him for this year. I think this Friday's announcement about he's going to start in the preseason game was really to push the NFL. The Browns are trying to push them because they want to know, they don't want this to drag out. If he's going to be suspended for a year, they want to know now so they can make plans. And this is kind of forcing Goodell's hand. So me personally, I would avoid it. Even if you're considering it, I'd wait a little bit more to hear the news.
Yeah. The rumors out there is that they might bring in, I was reading that they might bring in Jimmy Garoppolo via a trade from San Francisco.
Hey, look, with Amari Cooper, Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, everything like that, they have a pretty good lineup. They have a pretty good offense line. And Jimmy Garoppolo probably not be pretty, but at the same time, with that said, Jim, how high is Amari Cooper? Is he one of your top receivers?
No, you know what? I guess for me, I'm kind of staying, at least for now, I'm staying away from most of the Browns, right? Amari Cooper, I think, is getting older. He's close to 30, and I feel like his prime is done. Kareem Hunt's wanting a trade. My guess is at some point they're going to try to move him. If there's one person I would pick, I would really look at Travis Johnson. I do think that there's some value.
Yeah. Hey, Jed, going over, actually, you know what? Let me go over to Jimmy as well, too. Brian Daboll is the new head coach for the New York Giants. And as a result, he did wonders for Josh Allen over at Buffalo. Let me get your thoughts on 2 players. Kenny Galladay, in last night's preseason game, caught 1 of 3 targets for 6 yards. He is your starting wide receiver. High free agent last year, had major expectations, disappointed as well too. Compare that with Saquon Barkley, who has looked very, very good at camp and who is now 1 year away from his ACL tear. What are your thoughts on both Saquon Barkley and Kenny Galladay?
Jed, doesn't this bring up a story? I see you smiling because 2 years ago, Tommy was all in on Daniel Jones, and he's always all in on Kenny Galladay. And let me just say, all three of those players, including Saquon Barkley, I will not touch. I think there's certain teams, there's certain players that you just want to stay away from, and those three for me, I'm not even paying attention to them. I mean, I just feel like Barkley has disappointed us way too much.
Yeah, I was laughing because only the second news and notes from Tommy, and he brought up Kenny Galladay. It's either going to be Kenny Galladay or maybe DeAndre Swift. I mean, we know there's a couple guys that Tommy likes. For years, you guys have heard, if you've been watching this at all, I always say avoid the New York teams, the Giants and the Jets. I will say this year is the first time I'm going to come off of that. I'm actually going to switch. The two teams I want to avoid this year are the Browns and then the Washington team. Those are the two teams I'm really not interested in. But the Giants are interesting. You got to say, with this new coach, and again, he's an offensive-minded coach, I have to say I'm intrigued. Now, Kenny Galladay is not the guy I'm intrigued by. Actually, I was trying to find his name. It's the rookie wide receiver.
Oh, Ladarius Toney.
Yes, Ladarius Toney for the Giants. That's the guy that I'm like, man, he could be an interesting late round flyer, and you could get some. If this offense really does come around the way they're saying that Dable will do wonders, that could be an interesting pick. So I'll say I'm open to it.
Yeah, I mean, here's my thing, right? Saquon Barkley is number 34 ranked running back according to fantasy. So in terms of like value, you could make the argument that if you bring him in maybe end of second round, maybe third round, I don't think he'll last that, but he'll go until the end of the second round, that there's value in picking him up. But the problem is he's disappointed people the last few years. Like, he's always injured.
Yeah, and I'm still not a Daniel Jones fan, just to be clear.
But there will be someone who does not pay attention to fantasy football, who jumps on, recognizes Saquon Barkley, and will pick him at the top of the second round. There will always be
of course. Yeah.
Which is why you shouldn't do a snake draft. Do an auction draft, you guys. I'm so mad that one of our leagues voted to do a snake draft. I basically almost quit. I texted the commission, was like, I'm not going to play.
Which one? Is that the Walter White one?
Yeah, the Walter White one. I texted the commission. I was like, I'm going to quit. I'm not playing this year because I'm not playing in a snake draft. I'm like, I just can't stand that. Like, I can't stand losing to people who got lucky. Like, I'm like, that's not the way to do it. But anyway.
A snake draft with the 12-team league, not even 10, 12-team league.
Yeah, exactly. Are hard.
I don't like it. I don't enjoy it.
Yeah. Okay. Now let me say this: the players I love is Kenny Galladay, Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson. Those were the guys and Daniel Jones was my quarterback. That was my team 1 year because I really had high hopes for that team.
And remember last year you were all in on Antonio Gibson going to Jets.
I'm not no longer high on him.
No, I rumor. I mean, have you guys heard right that people are they're gonna try to limit Gibson. They're not really high on Gibson anymore right now in Washington.
I was back high on Gibson when McKissick got signed for that one day, but when Washington matched it, I said forget it, because Gibson was such a disappointment last year.
Yeah, that team I'm really avoiding like the plague. I mean, I feel like they're just going down in flames. So, like I said, Washington and Cleveland, those are the two teams I honestly don't want any of those players.
Yeah. But at the same time, I will probably say on our keeper league, he was one of my – it came down to either Terry McLaurin or the wide receiver out of the Chicago Bears. Oh, man, I just completely blanked on
Mooney?
Yeah, Darnell Mooney.
Well, you're going to keep him on your keeper league?
Well, I had to pick one of them. It was either McLaurin or Darnell Mooney. So I ended up picking McLaurin.
I mean, McLaurin is definitely a talent. Like, there's no question about it. The guy is a top 10 talent. It's just the quarterback play, right? Like that. And actually, I don't know how bad the line is, but that's my biggest worry is the quarterback play. But McLaurin easily is still talent-wise top 10. I would say he's probably, my guess is he's probably around 15 is probably his average draft position. So that's not a bad keeper pick at all.
Oh, the reports out of camp is Carson Wentz still struggles with accurate issue, the one issue that always plagues them. And even with drills where it's just him throwing to receiver, he's still missing people all the time. And
Oh,
so that's been the concern.
I was shocked at how talk about a turn. I mean, you guys remember just a few years ago, Carson Wentz was such a hot name and everyone wanted this guy. And now he's like a virus. Everyone's like, this guy's not a good leader. He's not a practice player. He just seems like, I would not want anyone to draft him, and then I would want everyone to be careful about the impact on the rest of the offensive players in Washington.
Okay, side note, talking about bad leader, but look at the team that he was traded from. Matt Ryan, Indianapolis Colts. That's a solid pickup. That's a solid pickup for that team.
Oh, absolutely. And what a good guy, right? Like, I hope, just like Stafford, last year, Stafford was so easy to cheer for. Matt Ryan's another guy, easy to cheer for. He's got Jonathan Taylor behind him. He's got this sweet offensive line. He's got, I'm going to blank on Pittman on the outside. I mean, it's a perfect setup. You just hope that he hasn't hit that age shelf where he just falls off the cliff. So we'll see.
Yeah. Jim, let me ask your thoughts in terms of Baltimore, the running back situation. Mike Davis was your starting running back for the Atlanta Falcons. Didn't do well. He is now with Baltimore. And so now you have Mike Davis. J.K. Dobbins just came out of PUP. Mm-hmm. What are your chances? You're definitely not going to pick up Mike Davis unless you need a flyer. You need someone on from waivers or something like that. What do you think of J.K. Dobbins?
Yeah, no, I mean, even after, like Gus Edwards is usually the backup. He's out. I think he'll be out for a few more weeks. I think J.K. Dobbins is going to be fine. Remember, at least with Baltimore, you always have Lamar Jackson, who really is also going to be your number 2 running back there too. So for me, I just don't think that there's value in Mike Davis. And even after what happened last year, I mean, I'm not even. I actually just dropped him in one of my long-term dynasty leagues.
Yeah, I was just looking. I don't even see Dobbins in the top 20. I think he's going pretty hard down.
Yeah.
So really interesting.
I mean, I think these running backs, right, Jed, we're going to talk a little bit about later. Some of these guys are so suspect, right? Like, you pick up a running back, they're not going to stay healthy it's very few of them will stay healthy for the entire year. And so the Dobbins of people who's just coming out from injury, you just don't want to touch them.
Yeah, I thought for sure, Jimmy, the one you would want to talk about is the Denver backfield. I know you've always been high on the Denver backfield, with their kind of cut system and whatnot, one cut system. And now with Russell Wilson back there will be very interesting. I think Javonte Williams is the guy. It's kind of interesting to see, and try to predict what his usage is going to be like.
Actually, think about all the running backs that played behind Russell Wilson. They've always had pretty decent years if you look back on it, right? Chris Carson, who just retired, they had a pretty decent year. I'm trying to remember the running back right before him, but they've all had I would say they were in the top 10, The only thing that worries me about that running back system is because Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams, I don't think it'll be a 50-50 split, but my guess it'll be more 60-40.
Yeah,
hey, I was all in on Javonte Williams until they signed Melvin Gordon late into this offseason. I'm sitting there, oh my gosh. I mean, he was going to be really good.
Yeah, but remember, Melvin Gordon is what I was reading his stats. He's 30 now. Last year, the only player in the last couple of years who hit 30 and actually had some sort of decent impact was Mark Ingram. And that was him playing a few years with Baltimore. But that's it. Like most running backs, once they hit 30, there's not much value coming out of them.
He also has a foot injury in training camp right now, Melvin Gordon. So that's something to watch as well, too.
Yeah.
Jed, let me talk to you about Tom Brady. Tom Brady is out for personal reasons. And look, you know what? He's been around for so long. He doesn't need training camp. But which of these players on the Tampa Bay team are you excited for? Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Russell Gage, Leonard Fournette, Cameron Brate, or Kyle Rudolph?
And you didn't mention Julio Jones.
Oh, and Julio Jones.
Because it's interesting. A lot of people think Julio is going to jump Russell Gage and be the third wide receiver. I was also reading that Chris Godwin, it doesn't sound like he's fully back. It sounds like there's some question marks about him, which to me elevates Mike Evans a little bit more dependent on Mike Evans and maybe gives Julio even a chance to jump, which is interesting because you guys remember for years, Chris Godwin was one of my favorites. I mean, a target hog and just a, great player. But here's the biggest thing to me out of that team, Tampa Bay. they lost both their starting center and their starting left guard. I don't know if you guys saw that. Both of them out with injuries for the year. So that is a huge deal, especially for Brady, and to have that lack of consistency on the line. I'm kind of concerned. I think they might have a little bit of issues coming back, and so I don't know. I'm a little worried about even Tom Brady. This is a guy I'm not sure that I would want to draft.
Yeah, everybody does talk about Leonard Fournette, right? Like I'm looking at it last year. He rushed for 812 yards. He received for 454 yards. A lot of people said that don't miss out on Leonard Fournette. He's actually better than you guys realize. And the way that Brady just dumps off on him, he's actually a pretty good candidate to look at from a running back. But I will say, Tom, I bet you're targeting Chris Godwin, aren't you?
No, well, later on in rounds.
Yeah.
Low enough, I'm targeting him.
No, that's my brother's strategy. He always tries to go after these injured players towards the end, so that by the end of the fantasy, towards the end, he can bring them out and he has an entirely new team. I know he's looking at Chris Godwin.
Yeah, my strategy always is. I am very, very happy to be an 8-8 team, 8-9 team, slides in the playoffs, have a bunch of injured players, and then suddenly they do well. So I'm fine with that.
Yeah. This year, I know you're targeting Chris Godwin, DeAndre Hopkins. Who else is there? Michael Thomas. Those types of guys. Yeah,
but at the same time, for those who don't play fantasy football, you'll always have those guys purely by name recognition alone. They pick them so high. Sure, go ahead, pay all this money, and then suddenly I'm in the auction league. You're now paying pennies on dollar for some of these other players. You get a huge discount, and then you build your team that way.
Yeah, Hopkins and Godwin I'm just trying to find their
ADPs. They're really low.
They're really low.
Yeah, I was just looking at their place the other day. Yeah. I mean, they're really low.
They're both outside top 20, top 25. So you definitely
Hopkins is 101.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's pretty low, so you can definitely get a lot of value there. But anyhow, we'll see. That team, the Cardinals, is very interesting. Kyler Murray finally got paid, got his big contract. I'm a little worried. I feel like a lot of these superstars, when they finally get their money the year after, the year of the contract year is when they play really well. The year after, there's usually a little bit of a dip. So I'm a little bit worried for Kyler Murray.
Jed, let me ask you, what did you think of all that conversation regarding his study hours?
Oh, that was horrible. I thought his response was really good. I don't know if you guys saw his response, where basically he was like, look, if you think that you can be, a top 5 NFL player, a top college player, and a top high school player without study, he's like, you don't understand football. And I think that's really true, right? Like, if you think that these guys can get away with like just pure talent, it's just not the way it works. Like, you've got to put in some of the hours. But I think it was either way, it was just not, whoever was reviewing contracts should have caught that, because it was going to look bad no matter what. Like, they shouldn't have had that in there no matter what.
Yeah. But the concern with Kyler Murray is, and just even watching some of the NFL broadcasts as well too, they must have felt so strongly about this contract and him studying that if they were going to give him a huge contract, there must have been something lacking in his study time that they needed to improve on, because the owner had to approve that one.
Yeah, I mean, again, but even if that's the case, to me, that's where it's like you can't put that in writing, something that the public can get access to. I don't know. Maybe he's not the first in, last out kind of guy. But I don't get the sense, especially with that offense and with the way you see him play, I just don't feel like that's possible without at least some study. Now, maybe it's not enough for them, and that's why they put that in there, but it's not like the guy hasn't performed either. I mean, again, you wouldn't get that kind of a contract if you hadn't been at least top 10, over each of those years.
My comment about Kyler Murray, look at the 3 receivers he's got this year. He's got DeAndre Hopkins, who's going to be out for most of the first 6 games. He's got Marquise Brown, who just got arrested because he was driving so fast, which I've never been that big of a Marquise Brown fan. I mean, he's got Rondale Moore, right? Who was number 3 wide receiver in the depth chart. I do think if you're going to pick a receiver, you place your bets on the Rondale Moore, because they're going to need to rely on him this year.
I would disagree. I would tend to go with Marquise Brown because look, he's shown flashes.
Really?
He's shown flashes in it. I think a lot of times before DeAndre Hopkins comes, he is probably your best bet. Rondell Moore was okay. There was so many hype around him, but I think I would go with Marquise Brown.
Yeah, I actually agree with you, Tommy, and mainly because of the college connection. Remember, they played college together. They're buddies. So this is someone that he wanted in-house. I have a feeling he's going to look his way quite a bit.
Yeah.
But do you think, okay, so with that said, do you think that the value of Travis Kelce elevates? So would you consider picking him higher in the first round because there's nobody else, except maybe James Conner?
Zach Ertz.
Oh yeah, Zach Ertz. Yeah, would that elevate Zach Ertz in terms of
no,
not really. You don't think so? Yeah.
Did Ertz didn't get injured last year, right? Did he make it a year without getting hurt?
He did. He scored like 6 touchdowns in the short.
Yeah, so he made it a year. I remember that guy would get hurt all the time in Philly.
Yeah. Jim, speaking of that, I know both of you guys like James Connors. Is James Connors a round 1 running back for you?
No, I don't think so. I mean, but he did score 18 touchdowns last year. But I think it was.
No, I think Arizona is one of those teams where I think you're going to see a little bit of regression to the mean. So they're going to come back a little bit. I expect their scoring to be down. I think James Conner is probably like maybe in the 20th range as far as running backs. I don't think he's top 10. I think he's maybe at the outside of a top 20 back. But I'm not very high on the Cardinals as much as I like Kyler Murray.
Hey, Jed, speaking of that, going back, Chase Edmonds was a guy who was backing up, actually had the starting position over James Conner, and James Conner did so well. He catches and also scores from the red zone. But Chase Edmonds went to Miami. Your 2 starting running backs over in Miami right now is Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, and maybe Myles Gaskin. Out of those 3, who do you like the most?
Oh, gosh, I have no idea. And that
wait. Give me one more. Sony Michel. I didn't realize Sony Michel was on this team.
Yeah, that team to me is one of the ones huge question marks, right? Like Tyreek Hill coming in, what's going to be the impact? Everyone's all in on Tua. Are we going to see progression on his, him continuing to get better? We saw last year there were still some accuracy issues, still a little bit of command issues with the offense. Can he take the next leap to really go further and push his team? It's a big question mark, but the thing is, if you want to gamble, then yeah, this could be the team. And maybe Chase Edmonds is the guy. I mean, this could be a team. Miami is on the up and up. So, with Tyreek Hill, that's going to pull a lot of defenses away. It's going to open lanes for the running back. So I think you can make a real strong case that this might be the year to go in with Miami.
You know what? They're really gambling. I mean, think about it, right? They just got penalized for going hard after Tom Brady and also Sean Payton, right? And once they got caught on that, all of a sudden they decide now they think that Tua is worth not just the money, but the players around him, right? So they brought in all these other people, hoping that they can compensate Tua. I still think they don't have confidence in Tua. I just don't think this is going to work. Out of all the players, I feel like I'm staying away from Tyreek Hill. Only Jalen Waddle, in my eyes, is actually worth a pickup, and that's from a dynasty. You think Tyreek Hill?
Mike Gesicki.
No, every year everyone looks at Mike Gesicki. He doesn't do anything. I love
Mike Gesicki.
No, I've heard Mike Gesicki's hype the last 3 years. Every year you pick him up and you dump him towards the end because he doesn't do anything.
Did you see his volleyball tape on YouTube? He's a great volleyball player. Mike Gesicki is going to be the guy I'm going after this year.
Jed, I'm going to let Tommy pick Mike Gesicki. I already know he's got 2 or 3 guys he's going to go after. Mike Gesicki, my guess, is one of them, but I'm going to stay away from that guy.
I don't think Gesicki's a bad move, especially with Tua. You feel like with the weaker quarterbacks, tight end is their safety net, and so that's not too bad of a play. But yeah, I think Tyreek Hill is still top 10 I think he's on the outside edge, but he's still in that 9-10 range. And then Jalen Waddle, I would put in the next round about kind of towards the end of the 20th, top 20, but still intriguing. But I agree, I'm not sold on Tua. We'll see how it plays out.
Okay. So let's go back. Who would you guys choose, Zach Ertz or Mike Gesicki?
Mike Gesicki.
Yeah, I would probably take Gesicki.
Really? I would go after Ertz.
No,
I go after Ertz.
It's just too I don't know. I still feel like he's too injury prone.
Yeah. Hey, but you guys didn't answer my question. If you were, is it Mostert? Is it Sony Michel? Is it
No, I said Edmonds.
Edmonds.
Yeah, I said Edmonds.
Yeah, I go for Edmonds.
But Raheem Mostert, he's fast.
I think here's the thing: is he'll get most of the he'll get most of the goal line. I will say that. Whereas for Chase Edmonds, he'll get running and then he'll also get receiving, so they'll benefit if you're in a PPR league. But I still like Edmonds more.
Now, I would say this: Sony Michel did very well, and in some leagues he was being picked up as part of the Los Angeles Rams. I don't know why he signed with such a crowded backfield. I just don't understand it. But man, he's really good.
Well, remember he signed before Chase Edmonds, and so my guess is I don't know if he knew that they were going to bring in Chase Edmonds when he signed.
Yeah, exactly.
Going back to my Mike Gesicki, and I'll move on as well too. Look, I probably am not going. We were going to talk a little bit about draft strategies. I'm not in on any of the high receivers. I'm not in on Mark Andrews. I know Jed usually loves Mark Andrews, but if I go with the second tier, you're going to wait, and there's Mike Gesicki sitting there waiting. I tend to like picking up my tight ends later on in the draft.
No, I agree with that. There are definitely plenty of tight ends at the end, but Andrews has shown the consistency, especially last year, because I thought he started off slow and then ended up the year pretty well. I think he was top 2 or top 3 at the end of the year. The guy I'm back on is Kyle Pitts, right? Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
I was disappointed last year. Defense is really focused on him. They were not able to game plan. We got to see how what's his name? The new quarterback out of Oregon. Come on, guys, Atlanta. Who's the new quarterback with the Falcons?
Marcus Mariota.
Marcus Mariota, formerly from Oregon. We got to see how he does, but man, Kyle Pitts is still a physical beast, and in that offense, he's going to be a focal point, and so that's a guy that I'm really excited to see what happens this year.
Yeah. Okay, so right now, Gesicki is listed as the 113th ranked player. Here's my 3 players I would pick over Gesicki that you can get better. Freiermuth from Pittsburgh, Dallas Goedert from
Philly.
Eagles, and Zach Ertz. I mean, those guys I think will have a better season than even Hunter Henry. I would consider.
I would take Goddard. I think Philly this year is very interesting, right? You bring in AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts. A lot of people forget Jalen Hurts was top 5 last year. You guys realize that? He was top 5 QB because of his running stats. They bring in AJ Brown. I think Goddard has a real chance to be a performer with this offense.
Actually, Kyle Rudolph with the Buccaneers. That's an intriguing one with Brady too, because he was recruited by Brady.
Is Kyle Rudolph like 40? That guy has been.
I don't know, but he's a pretty good player. I could see him doing pretty good.
He's solid. He's definitely. I could see him as a bye week fill-in, but I don't know that I'd want him as an every week starter.
I would say not to give away my draft strategy. If it was auction draft, that's why I hate Snake. If it was auction draft, I'm saving my money for Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, that's true. That's actually a good. That's a good strategy.
Yeah, I think Hurts is top 5. If he's not top 5 off the board, something's wrong. Like, I think Hurts is a really strong player. You definitely, all quarterbacks in general, you can wait, but I think he's going to end up top 5.
Go ahead.
Side note, let me ask you guys a question. This goes back to auction draft. If you were an auction draft and let's say you had Jalen Hurts, who you really want, and it's time for you to nominate, are you nominating someone else different? Do you nominate your guy top, or do you nominate someone, let's say Patrick Mahomes, that people want and spend the most money on so you can save your guy? What's your draft strategy?
Mm-hmm.
So I love it. I love how we give away our draft strategy. You know that the guys, there's only probably like 10 guys who watch this, and they're all in the leagues that we're in, and they just want to hear what we're going to do. So I love to nominate people I'm not going to go after in the first 5 rounds. I want people to spend people to spend their money, just like you said. But then in the later rounds, I do nominate my own because I want to catch people sleeping. There's always people who, they slip through and you get them for cheaper than you should have because people just aren't paying attention.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
same thing. I just remember one year I nominated, or somebody nominated Adrian Peterson, right? And you only have $200, $200. Somebody spent $93 on Adrian Peterson, and he got injured that year. And so you're always going to have that one or two people that would just purely overpay because of the name.
Like, I bet the three of us will probably agree. Someone's going to nominate Alvin Kamara or Ezekiel Elliott. Someone's going to love them. And next thing you know, you're going to watch $70 or $65 bidding on all of them and said, okay, let's just wipe some money off the board and some people on the board. Let's just go on then.
Yeah, that would be Zeke Elliott is really interesting to me. You're right. The name alone might push him up, but if you look at, he should be more in the late 20s, like in as far as top running backs, he should be in the late 20s. But you're right, the name could mess that up.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, but you're. I mean, the other thing you said, Jed, there's always that one player where I get bored somewhere in the middle of the draft, and I'm looking around at other players, and next thing you know, I was like, did so and so just get sold for like $4?
Yeah,
because it went so fast. So this year, I'm determined to pay attention more and not research as the drafts are going on.
You know, for me, I remember just because it was the most recent one in the NBA league we were in. I don't know if you guys remember. No, Drew Holiday.
Drew Holiday. Yeah,
he went for like $5 or something. I was like, what happened? I wanted that guy. I remember I was so mad.
Jim, let me go as we wrap up or go through a couple of players. Running back James White, ultra back, very, very solid, has finally retired. How high is Damian Harris on your draft board?
You know, he's okay, but I don't know. Like, I like Stevenson more on the depth chart than Damian Harris. And I still think that based off of his production last year, at the end of the day, he's going to end up being the number one, whether it's this year or next year. And so for me, if I'm going to pick somebody, it's going to be Ramondre Stevenson.
Hey, who's the number one wide receiver in New England? There's a guy that I was interested in that they picked up. Who was that? Do you guys know?
You know what?
Sorry, I put us all on the spot. Yeah. There was someone who I was in my mind. I was like, that's an interesting pickup by the Patriots. I could see him, doing some damage there.
Yeah.
Yes, Devontae Parker.
Yes, Devontae Parker. That's who it was. Man, you guys remember Parker had some crazy years in Miami, and he was injured though. That's the only issue is he's always get hurt. But boy, I thought that guy is a speedster on the outside. He could really, open things up. And Mac Jones, I don't know. We got to see, I know he's not on anyone's radar. Mac Jones, I don't think he's even top 15, maybe like outside of top 20. But this team, you feel like Belichick knows how to get the best players the ball. And if that's the best player on the field, he's going to get it.
Okay, you want to hear?
Not only Devontae Parker, Jim, give me 1 minute, but also remember, guys, Kendrick Bourne. Who was Kendrick Bourne? He was seen actually over Deebo Samuel over San Francisco.
Yeah. Here's a depth chart going to what Tommy says. Here's a depth chart for the New England wide receivers. Kendrick Bourne, Devontae Parker, Ty Montgomery, Tyquan Thornton, and Jacoby Myers. Oh, and also Nelson Aguilar. That's the depth chart. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
No, I'm a Parker fan. I liked him when he was in Miami.
Let me go through a couple of them. Jameson Williams expected to miss at least week 1. He'll probably come in early November. High draft pick, injured his ACL, tore his ACL over in the Alabama game. How high is Jameson Williams? Because Amar St. Brown is probably your number one bet.
Yeah, I actually haven't been following that, so I would probably stay away if he just got hurt. I don't know where he's going in the drafts right now.
Yeah. You know what? I would consider him in the Dynasty League, but the fact that they have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who I actually like pretty well, worries me a little bit. But from a Dynasty League, I think I would really look at I would look at Williamson.
Yeah. Jim, as we think about drafts this year, what's your strategy going into the drafts? Are you aiming for a higher tight end? Are you looking at wide receivers? What's your strategy going into the draft this year?
Yeah, well, so I know this, right? Like we were talking about this beforehand. If you looked at the last 3 or 4 years, all of the running backs that you end up picking in the first round that most people spend their high draft picks on, most of those running backs aren't usually on your roster by the end of the season. And so I think for me, what I usually try to do is I'll pick up I actually will pick up 2 or 3 receivers that are pretty high. I'll try to go for one of the top tight ends, but I also have a quarterback that's usually high. I usually will try to go after the Josh Allens, Justin Herbert, or Patrick Mahomes, one of those 3. And then I leave. So my gamble is I leave the running backs until the very end. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But that's where ideally you want to fill it in with like a Tony Pollard or an AJ Dillon or somebody like that.
Oh, Tony Pollard's really interesting. That's another reason Zeke Elliott down in Dallas, because Pollard was really, if you look at his per averages when he was in the game, Dallas was much better with him in the game. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I think to me this year, the rise of the wide receiver, it's the continued trend. We've seen this every year for the past 3 years, wide receivers gaining in prominence. The way you're going to see that is if you're doing a snake draft, you will see Cooper Kupp and maybe Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase going in the first round. So you're seeing wide receivers in the first round, which historically has not been the case. So I do think this year more than any other, you can play the non-running back strategy. But I still think the bottom line is you got to focus on running backs and wide receivers, and you got to wait on quarterbacks and tight ends. It's just a question of which ones. But to me, I like to just play it by kind of, just see how the thing goes, right? A lot of times there's these, if you're in an auction draft, you can see who pays money for what. If you're in a snake draft, you can see what the runs are. There's always runs where like someone picks a running back and then all of a sudden everybody picks a running back, or someone picks a tight end and then everybody picks a tight end. So you just got to watch those and then kind of play the game.
Yeah. Honestly, a lot of times is if I'm in an auction league, I'm taking some big names like Ezekiel Elliott, I'm putting him on and I'm just throwing all wide receivers because I want all running backs. That is my strategy going in. If I'm in the snake draft, you're either going in all tight ends. If I suddenly decide I want 2 tight ends, I'm going to go for Kelsey. I'm going to go for Kyle Pitts, and I'm also going to go for Darren Waller or someone else like that. Or Mark Andrews. I probably will not go for all tight ends. I'm probably going to go running back heavy this year because there's so many quarterbacks and so many wide receivers. I probably could get Amon-Ra St. Brown probably later on mid-draft, and he could still be my wide receiver 1.
See, I just, and maybe it's because I don't value the running back position. I much rather have a Justin Herbert or a Josh, what's his name?
Josh Allen.
Yeah, Josh Allen. The only person that I could potentially look at after the top 3 might be Jalen Hurts, right? But I don't want this year. I don't want Dak Prescott. I don't want Kyler Murray. I want one of the top 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah, I've got, you guys know in our keeper, I've got Kyler Murray and Joe Burrow. So I was debating if I should keep them both again this year, but I think I'm going to.
On my keeper league, I'm trying to decide if I want to keep Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey or CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb.
I love CeeDee Lamb this year.
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb.
He's going to get so many more targets this year. I think he's one of the guys I really like. McCaffrey is such a wild card, though. If the guy could just stay healthy, holy smoke.
Yeah.
He's going number 2, number 3 in a lot of drafts. So that's tough to give up, Jimmy.
Well, remember last year in our Dynasty League, our auction league, I spent, $80-something on Najee Harris. Najee Harris is actually pretty highly ranked this year, above McCaffrey.
Yeah. He's like a 6 or 7, like top 10,
Seriously, you were picking McCaffrey over CeeDee Lamb? I'm just looking at it right now.
CeeDee Lamb has no competition. He is wide receiver 1. Michael Gallup is out for at least a couple months. Other than that, there's no one sitting there.
Yeah, only the only other person is Dalton Schultz, the tight end.
Actually, that's the tight end I would actually really consider, Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, Dalton Schultz and Dallas Goedert are the two Ds in the tight end range that are really good. Oh, Darren Waller too. But those are all good targets.
Yeah.
All right, as we wrap up, Jim, is there one person you love or you hate going into this draft?
Okay, yes, I do have a couple of lists, right? I really like Travis Etienne, the running back. I think he's going to be the lead back in what do you call it? The lead back in
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville. The two other people I really like. I like Gabriel Taylor with the Buffalo Bills. I really think that last year he came on. And I also am high on Drake London with the Falcons, the rookie wide receiver. Outside of Kyle Pitts, there's nobody else to take that ball. So
That was Gabriel Davis, right? The wide receiver in
Gabriel
Buffalo.
Davis. Yeah, he's number 2 on the depth chart. And last year, he did better towards the second half. He did better than Stephon Diggs.
Yeah. No, I like that. He's a good pick.
Those are the guys. Oh, and okay. So one more. George Pickens. George Pickens from Steelers, the number 2 receiver. I think he's going to go ahead of Chase Claypool this year.
Yeah.
See,
no,
now I'm
those.
throwing out all my sleepers that I don't want you guys to get.
No, George Pickens is a good one too. For me, the P2 I was going to say one. I mentioned the New York teams that I traditionally have stayed away from. I think the running back on the Jets, Breece Hall. Yeah, I think he's pretty interesting. I would pay attention. Also, I was just reading about the guy with the Chiefs. Who's the running back out of the Chiefs? The number 1 running back.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
No. It's
no,
not
the backup.
Helaire.
The backup that they got.
Backup.
Yeah. Hold on, I'll get it for you.
It's the backup. There's a lot of strong reports on him coming out of camp. So that's guy is someone I might take a flyer on. And then the other one is back in Denver. I'm high on Russell Wilson. I think that was a great pickup. Russell Wilson, by the way, has been averaging in the 9th or 10th quarterback. I think he's going to perform better than that. Remember that in his career, he has never been outside a top 5. As far as fantasy points. So this guy produces. I think he's going to end up higher than his draft position now, which means I also like Cortland Sutton, the wide receiver out there, especially now that Tim Patrick went down with injury. So both Cortland Sutton and, of course, Jerry Jeudy out there, I think are both interesting picks.
Yeah. So here's his depth chart for the Chiefs. Helaire is number 1. Number 2 is Ronald Jones. Number 3 is Jerick McKinnon. Number 3 is Isaiah Pacheco.
That's the guy.
That's the guy, yeah.
Yeah, Isaiah Pacheco, the name.
All right, last one for me. A lot of times, I love Kenny Walker over at the Seattle Seahawks, all right? Rashad Penny, at the end of the day, is going to get injured. Chris Carson's retired. Take a look on the flyer toward the end. Kenny Walker. Another one I love, Elijah Mitchell over at the San Francisco 49ers. There is no one else in the backfield. McKinnon is gone. Mostert is gone. There's Elijah Mitchell sitting there in an offense, which I love as well, too. But the guy that I can't stand because everyone loves to draft him, but he never performs, Miles Sanders. All right, everyone loves Miles Sanders. He never gets anything done.
Hey, can I ask you about 2 people? Where are you guys at with Devontae Adams and DK Metcalf?
I'm dropping DK in my keeper league. I think he's probably going to be still top 20, but I'm dropping him in the keeper league just because the quarterback play I don't think is going to be there.
Yeah.
And then who's the other one?
Devontae
Adams. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Actually, I think Derek Carr is interesting because of that pickup with the Raiders. I think Devontae Adams is still definitely top 10, maybe top 5. I mean, he's just that good of a talent.
Mm-hmm. But wouldn't you let people fight over Devontae Adams? And, okay, you know what? If he goes really low, I'll pick him up. But I'm just going to let people fight over him.
Yeah, I would.
Hey, one last thing. I'm looking at my wife's keeper leagues. She has both Justin Jefferson and the guy
Chase.
from Jamar Chase.
Yeah, no, that was. Remember, that was the famous trade where she picked up Jamar Chase for Patrick Mahomes, and at the time we were like, I don't know, but it ended up working out for her. Talk about the wide receiver strategy. She's like totally all in there. She just needs to find a running back to supplement, and then we'll see. But I think last year she was in the back, like the bottom half of the league, right?
It was Jamar Chase and Russell Wilson for Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, exactly.
If you think about it, that is a very, very smart move.
Yeah, picking up the rookies, that's to me is always, especially because we're in a keeper league. So, the rookies are you get to take a little bit of a chance on a rookie because no one's seen them perform. And then you can see like if that pays out in the end.
Yeah. And Jim, she has Travis Etienne. So a lot of times you like him. She might be a good one to trade with.
Okay, before we end, who's the one player in the top 2 rounds that you cannot let someone else have? Like, who are you going to target?
That no one else can have. There's no. I don't have anyone like that. Like if they pay enough, I'm willing to let them go eventually.
My 2 highest ones, I really would love a combo of Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. I know that's going to be a lot of money, but if I had 2 players, those are the 2 players I'm going to target.
Yeah, they're so popular though. I mean, like I said, they're going top 10, in drafts. So it's going to be expensive no matter what. You probably won't be able to get both. You probably can get one.
Yeah.
I don't know. Everyone's high on Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins in Minnesota because of the new offensive scheme there. But I don't know. I'm still, it's a lot. There's a lot of hype right now. Jamar Chase, on the other hand, I think that's legit. I mean, Cincinnati has just shown that offense can feed. The fact that Jamar Chase can be top 10 and T. Higgins still coming in around 10 and 11 just shows you that offense has plenty to go around for their wide receivers.
Yeah. And honestly, I think DeAndre Swift is going so high. I'm not sure if I will go for DeAndre Swift. Everyone's going to go after Cooper Kupp. For me, I think the safest one for me, Austin Eckler.
Yeah, I can see that.
Oh, Eckler is definitely, I think he's ready for kind of a bounce back year. We'll see if he can fly under the radar, but most drafts he's going number 3, number 2, even number 4. So he's hard to get.
Tom, you usually have 3 players you target in all your drafts. Who are those 3 players?
I don't know yet. Because I like to say Gibson and all that stuff. I don't know yet. Jalen Hurts is one I definitely know, but I don't know yet. So I'll say that for the next time we talk. Well, hey, look, we've had a lot to talk about. We'll probably come back I'm off to Southeast Asia in next week. And so after that, then we'll record in 2 Tuesdays from now.
Sounds good. Fun, guys.
All right. Talk soon, everyone.